Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I've got a fun project making a gift tag that is sort of like a paper doll situation where we've got all these wonderful hats that the recipient can put on and off of the lady. So this is from a brand new stamp set from Art Impressions. Let's take a look at it. This is the new Hats Off Mrs. set by Art Impressions. It's got the cheeky lady and several hats and many different cute sentiments. This says, another year older, you wear it well. Coffee and cake make birthdays great, which you could use with either of these hats. There's social distancing club, mask, and the sentiment, I wear my mask like a crown. And don't you love that bird hat? The sentiment says, here's your birthday pheasant, which is so funny, and also another one that says, a little birdie told me it was your birthday. There's a coffee sentiment that says, sending you a latte birthday wishes, and a more generic hatty birthday. All very cute images and sayings. So let me show the hats that I colored up with my Copics. There's that pheasant hat. We've also got the birdcage hat. These are so cute because they have so many details in such a small little area. Look at that birthday hat with all that detail. And then finally there is the coffee hat. I love how the straws are used there to flourish up this one. It's so adorable. Now there's also a mask, and this one's made so that you can bling it up a little bit. There's like little rhinestones on the top edge. I know you can't see that, but I used blue Stella to give those little rhinestones a little bit of presence. And then finally, here's my cheeky lady, I call her, because she's just so much character in this woman. You can just imagine what her personality would be like. And that's one thing I love about the people that Art Impressions does. They're just oozing, cheeky personality, as I would call it, and I love that. As you can see, I paper pieced her outfit with her sweater and her pants and also her shoes, and this is not very hard to do. You just need to keep in mind the layering. Now her head, when I cut it, is extended a little bit longer so that it can fit underneath the sweater. The pants are the same way. They are a little bit longer when I cut them out so that the sweater could go on top of that as well. When I cut the pants, I included the shoes, and then I applied the pieces of skin for her ankles on top of that patterned paper. And then with her hands, I cut them out. The one that extends out here, I cut it so that the hand went a little longer so I could again put it underneath the sweater. The one on top of the sweater, I just cut out and glued right there on top. It was no layering really required there. And that's how I accomplished this paper piecing. Really quite simple, and it's fun to do this once in a while instead of coloring everything up. I thought it would be really fun to make a tag that could hang off a gift package or a bag, and you could make it be sort of like paper dolls for adults. So for my tag, I'm using the Bookmark die from Art Impressions number 5223, and you can see all the things that come with it, including that flag that I also cut. Now it comes, the die I should say, comes with this little tab in here that cuts in, which allows it to act like a bookmark. But I didn't want that in this version, so I achieved it by partial die cutting. I first put my plates on part of the die and cut it, then on this part of the die and cut it, which didn't then push the die with the cut into my tag. Then I put the two tags together, used a pencil to trace, and then cut it out so that I could avoid having that cut in it, but still get the nice shape at the top. So I used the same paper package for the piecing of my lady and also for the decorations on my tag. So just pointing that out, this is a Cardabella paper flower garden. And so I just started to put this together to create a little bit of a scene or a setting for the lady to sit on the front. Now I'm using the sentiment that I cut out of with circle just to cover up that hole that was punched in the die for that flag, because I really don't want that to show either. So I'm just strategically placing that so it barely covers that, but it also hangs off a little bit to the right of the tag, and I think that adds interest rather than everything being centered and within the border and all of that. I'll do the same thing really with my lady. I want her to overhang just slightly on both sides, both with her hand and also with the hats when they're on. So that's why I'm putting a hat on her and just figuring out where it's going to go. And I'll apply this just straight on again with glue. But notice that I do not put any glue on her head because I need the head to be free enough to allow the hats to be slipped on. Because like I said, this is going to be sort of similar to paper dolls, where the person who receives this tag can slip on whatever hat they want and sort of play with that. So that is most of the front already done. I'm just going to decorate that up a little bit more at the end. So now you could see that the hats fit really nicely on her, no problem at all. But now I need to create a way to store these hats so that the recipient can take whatever hat they want out and play with them, put them on and take them off and just change it as they wish. So I needed to find a way to store these hats, and I decided to use the matchbook envelope die number 5318, and this worked actually perfectly because when it's completed it's exactly the right width for the bookmark. So how about that? Now you could cut this out with regular paper, but I thought it would be fun to use some vellum for this because then the hats would show through a little bit when they're being stored and, you know, entice the recipient to play with those hats and bring them out. Now what's nice about this die too is that it has a gusseted side construction. So what the die already puts in two little score marks very close together to create a gusset. Once the envelope is closed, which again is perfect for this because when you've got 4 of these hats or 3 of these hats all stacked up together, they get a little bit thick, and this allows everything to be held nicely without it being overly full and popping open and all of that. So it's really quite perfect for this use is what I found. I skipped ahead now so you can see the entire envelope scored and folded, and again you can see with the lines in the vellum there that it does have a gusseted construction. And then the top just slips into the little slit in the bottom, and this envelope is pretty much ready to go. The only real challenge I had left was to figure out how to put these tall pieces in like that bird hat. So I pulled out the stitched oval die set from Art Impressions, and I'm going to cut a hole at the top. I'm just going to lay down the die with the envelope top laid down, and then I'm going to apply that oval, which is I think is the very smallest oval in the set actually, and I'm going to cut about not quite 2/3 but close to that into the center of this die. You want this to be pretty precisely in the center of the envelope, so it's a good idea to use something to tack down your die with, like I have here with washi tape. For a lot of the smaller cuts that I do, I use this little Sunlit machine. It's got a 3-inch throat opening for the plates, and you know, there are a lot of dies that are 3 inches or less, so it actually gets used quite a bit, and I really enjoy using it. It's quick and easy. If you want to see more about this particular die cutter, I have a review of it. I'll put the link up in the right hand corner just in case you might be interested in that and seeing more about the features of it. Alright, so this, as you can see, put a nice little hole into my envelope top. And now it's no problem at all to insert the taller hats. The feathers and the bird itself on the birdcage hat can sit freely there and not be impeded by the envelope. So that really did solve my problem perfectly. Alright, now I'm going to install this envelope, but before I do, I'm going to decorate it a little bit more. I used a Creative Memories punch to do this little border out of more paper from the Cardabella paper pack, and I also did another sentiment which says, "Another year older, you wear it well." I'm using all the kind of generic hat sentiments here, the Hattie birthday and this one, because I do have all the hats. If I were going to do something with just the coffee hat, I would use the latte sentiment, of course. But fortunately, they included a couple sentiments that work really well for all the hats, kind of generically, which suits this purpose really well. So I'm going to apply this border strip down with glue, and then I'll also then apply the envelope on top of that. As you saw earlier, I just applied some ATC adhesive. You could use snail adhesive, whatever you want. You don't have to worry about the adhesive really showing through the vellum envelope because Not much of it really can be seen by the time that you put it in and have the extra layer of the envelope on the top of that. And then of course when you fill it with your hats, that also covers up the glue marks. So I'm really not too worked up about the fact that you can see some of that glue when you open it up completely. I don't really think it's a big deal in this particular case. You'll also notice that I added a little bow to this envelope. That is part of the envelope die set, and I think it just was a nice little touch. Now you can see when everything is closed, the hats will stay in place and everything is working just as I had hoped it would. And now I can do the final touches. Before I continue, I do need to point out that there are matching dies that come with this stamp set, so it makes it really easy to cut out the details in these hats. And for this particular project, I cut out black cardstock as well and lined the back of my Copic colored hats just to give it more strength and also cover up all the staining from my Copic coloring. One of the things I'm going to do to decorate my tag is create a small bow, and I'm going to use the bow maker tools that are included with the Works tool from We Are Memory Keepers. And the nice thing about this is the posts are just stored in the unit, so you can just pull them out when you want to use it. Now there are holes at the bottom of the tool, and this is where I set up my two posts, wrap the ribbon around, push one end of the ribbon underneath the loop I've created, then over, and then just do a simple knot in the center and tighten it up. And that's all there is to creating a really kind of a perfect bow really quick and easily. Once it was done, I just slipped the bow off and glued the bow to the top of my tag. And once that was secure, I am trimming the ends of the ribbon so that they are somewhat even and have a nice angled end to them. I was lucky that I had just the perfect color of bluish green for this tag. It matched the paper really quite perfectly. And finally I added some sequins in pink and that bluish green color to the front of my tag and also to the back of the tag. Alright, then let's take a look at the final project with all the different hats. There's that birdcage hat. And then there's going to be the coffee cup hat. Next up is the pheasant hat, which personally is my favorite. I just think that looks so jaunty and fun on her especially. And then there is the birthday cake hat. And I love how these can be made so that they just slip on the head and whoever gets this can play around with those hats. And I hope they do. Like I said, it's very much like an adult paper doll situation, and who doesn't love that? Now you can see how the items just go back into the envelope for safekeeping. There's that extra sentiment on the back, and it's all ready to go to be attached to a gift bag or a package. Thanks for watching my project today. I really appreciate your time. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Here's also a few more videos you might enjoy if you liked this one. Thank you so much, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye!